Now that is live.
Indeed. How short do we keep this one? How sweet do we keep this one? No, now I'm guessing there'll be, well, how much to discuss even after I think, quite surreal, quite surreal 90 minutes or so.
Hello, everybody. Anyway, I'm going to look a little happy.
Yes, happy Friday, if you could describe it as happy Friday.
But yes. I mean, yeah, you could say, yeah, to win. And it is to win, and we've gone through. But why on earth did we make it so difficult? Well, I don't know. Did we make it difficult, or did we just never really?
Some are suggesting we never. Yeah, some are suggesting we didn't turn out of first gear. Well, I personally think, however, though, we made it difficult for ourselves on the basis of the play during the game. Obviously, a clean sheet, John Ruddy being good in goal, and a quite majestic strike. Yes, keeper could have done better, but 35 yards out.
Yeah,
a win's a win.
I think,
into the fifth round.
I'll be honest. I think that shot in Premier Championship, probably possibly even League One, that's saved.
Yep, indeed. Still 35 yards out. He saw the opportunity, and Vittel took it.
But what I will give him credit for is taking the shot.
Absolutely.
In the first place. You know, whether the keeper should really have said I suppose that's irrelevant. He actually thought about, and it was good technique and great.
Got it up, dipped underneath the keeper, and flew in, which was great, and to give him confidence and hopefully justify in terms of him potentially having a better, more.
He didn't look overly happy about it, though, did he? Really, because he seemed quite.
Yeah, I did notice that. I would have thought I would have been a bit more mad in terms of against a sixth tier side who played out their skin, but that was a 12th minute in.
This is what I mean. I mean, personally, and I know this is probably more me than a lot of other people at the moment, but I wish we'd just absolutely battered the horrible little club. I personally have no love for them at all. Oh, poor little Chorley. Oh, they need some money. They had money from the last round. Oh, but poor little Chorley. Oh, yeah.
And they've got, I think, 25%. And I think they've got 25% of the.
Absolutely, the ones who've shown utter disrespect and go, oh, but it was a mistake. Mistake, my arse, was it? They knew exactly what they were doing, and they just thought they could get away with it.
And it was disrespectful, and everybody knew that.
But it's a bit of football banter. No, it's not. It was downright fucking disrespectful, and I wish we'd have absolutely torn them a new one, but we didn't. And to be honest, on the pitch, I thought they were pretty disrespectful as well. A few of them looked like they wanted a trophy injury, and the way they reacted to Chorley when he was in front of them, well.
The man. That was a Dharma being a Dharma with his strength. For goodness' sake, the manager took it. The manager was.
No. They were doing that. They were doing that all game.
All the game, though. Yeah.
Oh, but it's little Chorley. Oh, fuck off.
I brought my virtual ticket, and they've got £15 for me as a result. But
you should have got it back. Got it back, and given it to someone who deserved it, someone more local or something, or someone.
I'll get paid next week, so I'll make a donation to say Compton Hospice or whatever else. And
but no, sorry, they showed a distinct lack of class for me. But
yes, and it came across as it was 2,000. They only sold 2,000 compared to Marine selling 30,000. So I think it says a massive deal. Don't know how many Cheltenham Town has sold for their big one against City on Sunday, but I'm guessing more was the answer. But it feels weird speaking after such a game. I will say they play Chorley on another night. And I think particularly if it wasn't for John Ruddy in goal, could have made us could have made us the headline. They could have made us they could have won 3-1. I think there are three very good chances in which
that's the thing. If we keep sitting and giving teams chances and chances and chances, of course that's going to. I mean, they were lucky tonight, really, because one of those on another day would easily have gone in.
Gone in.
And then would have been buggered at the time. And it's easy to say, oh, well, we could have stepped up a gear. Could we? Could we have stepped up a gear? That's the thing. When you play that turgid through an entire game, it didn't take a lot. I mean, the distinct thing that I noted in the second half, which was that when Neves, Traore, and Neto came on, well, his passing was way more crisp, much higher tempo. The ball was actually getting to the player instead of almost rolling to a stop before getting to each one.
Yep.
Neto was taking people on, and Traore was taking people on. But after 5-10 minutes of being with the rest of that shower, they got dragged down to the same level. Could we have stepped up to another gear? I'm not so sure. I'm genuinely not so sure, because it didn't look like it. I mean, if you want to, I've said this on my post on the forum and the verdict. It's okay. I might have said in the commentary, oh yeah, let's put 4 or 5 or 6 behind. I don't really expect that to happen, but what I do expect is for us to at least look comfortable. I don't expect us to necessarily score goal after goal after goal. No, fair enough. I accept that. And if you can say, oh, it was a professional. No, a professional response would have been to score another one, make it 2, then keep the ball in their half for the rest of the game. Don't have to nothing excessive, nothing over strenuous. Just simple. Knock the ball round, keep possession. They don't get a chance. That is a professional play, not that backs to the walls, hope that we don't concede something performance.
Indeed.
What is wrong with them? I mean, it's shameful. A shame. You should be trudging off that pitch, ashamed of yourself. Some of those players, because there was just a lack of concentration for me.
Yeah, and I think John Ruddy actually. I think when he made the save.
Actually, to be fair, you're right. John Ruddy, he can come off with his head up because he didn't have. I don't think he had loads to do.
He was shouting massively. He was angry. He was angry.
And when he was called on, he was sharp enough to get
stepped up. That save was a good save. Yeah. People no doubt say, oh, it's a regulation save for a Premier League keeper to make, but still he had to jump up, use his hand, and easy the ball could have bounced off the bar off the underside of the bar and in, or it could have bounced off his hand and flew into the net. But he was able to get it up high enough and tip it over the bar from that header, and I think it's saying it then absolutely screamed at the defence. And I did hear him say the F word, which I caught on TV, and I think it showed. I think it showed he was furious at the way in which we were doing nothing. Hello,
Richard.
Richard, hi.
Hello.
Hey, right.
How's the beard going? We're all beardies.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I do need to get. I haven't given this one a nudge in a few weeks. About a month, I think. So I need to give this a shave. Look a bit younger.
I think it's time to freshen things up, isn't it? I have to come off. So I guess we must be delighted. We're in the what round is that now of the FA Cup?
We're into round 5, so we're 2 rounds. Yeah. 2 rounds further than last year, and obviously 2 away from the semis.
I just take the win, to be honest. I don't.
Yes, I understand.
I don't care.
I understand that.
Else. Yeah,
I understand that. I mean, I've just had a little rant because I don't like Chorley, and I really haven't been impressed with their antics over the last few days. But
which probably lost them several £100,000.
But as I said, okay, I might have been going on about let's put 6 or 7 past them. I didn't expect that, but what I did expect is to look comfortable. That's all I expect. Just look comfortable, and just keep the ball.
And I think this is the thing. Yeah.
But the tempo.
This is the thing to chat about.
Yeah. Nope.
And this is the problem. This is the problem all the time. Our tempo.
Yep.
Yeah.
And passing backwards and sideways instead of trying to go forwards, as was again constant tonight.
I don't mind the passing sideways and backwards if it's to move the ball around quickly. I don't mind that. It's the fact that when you are passing it sideways and it's rolling and it's barely getting to the man, and then you can see that the ball's coming to the player and the player just stands there and waits for it to come to him when it looks like it might not even get there. It's that sort of thing that winds me up, because it's like that for me is. I call that lazy. And when I say they're being lazy, I don't mean they aren't running around necessarily. I mean it's mentally lazy. You're not concentrating on your job. You know, your top level footballers, you should be zipping that ball around and making them work to close you down. And
Yep.
you just made it easy for me. Easy for them to
I
look
think
better than they are.
I think that's absolutely the key. I wouldn't say it's lazy. It's either laziness or exhaustion. And to me,
Yeah, it could be discussed. Yeah, fair play.
when we have urgency, you see a different team. And I think we'll see a totally different team against Chelsea, and that's the kind of test. I mean, I still come back to West Brom. Two mistakes don't happen. I'm giving them the headed goal. It was a great set play, but the two of the mistakes, and we win that 2-1. Probably more because the game dynamic changes. Brighton, a mistake changes the dynamic of the game. Again, mistakes happen when you're exhausted, you're tired. What they're missing is that kind of 2 weeks in the sun. They're missing that ability to get around as a team and consolidate. I think if you look at everyone in the current situation, I don't see many people jumping for joy on top of their game, thinking the world's great. I'm loving life at the moment. Certain people might be, but I don't see them. And I think if you're in a bigger squad, you can create a dynamic of, well, who plays this week? And I think that's what we need to do. We need to have a bit more, we need to generate a bit of urgency somehow and take some people out of the firing line, get them hungry again. But I honestly, I'll leave my words if we get tonked by Chelsea 10-0. If we lose 2 or 3-0, it's a concern, but it's not the end of the world. But to me, it's the psychology of where the players are. We know they've got the skill and the ability. It's about just re-energizing, and I don't see anything happening outside the club particularly which helps that. I think a new face, again, it's just a change, and sometimes a change is all you need, and sometimes you need radical action. But I don't think we're anywhere near like. To me, you never know what's going on the inside of the club, and that's a huge caveat. But to me, it like you said, there's a lethargy in our play, and there has been, to be honest, for a long time. And that lethargy has to, whatever the root of it is, we have to remove it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Nuno. We have to remove it. I don't know what it is. Well, I've got my views, but I think I have no evidence for it, so I'm not going to spout off. But whatever's causing that lethargy in play, other than just fatigue, has to be removed. Because, like you say, you move the ball faster, straight away you change the entire mental dynamic. I say it all the time. You watch games of football. If the defenders just know they've got to amble across to the left at a kind of ambling pace, there's no stress on them. You're just achieving nothing. If you watch the better teams, and this is what Liverpool's kind of lost, is that we could go in at any moment, and you've got to pay attention every second.
Which is why Liverpool have dropped to fourth.
No. The ball's going to go to this, but you never know when they're going to go, and then suddenly they go, and that's
And I think shooting outside the box comes into that. If you haven't got the skills of the De Bruyne's, the Sterlings, although I think we probably have on Sterling, I think Neto and Traore are potentially of that ilk. You just want drive into the box. I mean, Traore drove down from into our half right down. He did it in the last game, got a foul. Somebody got a foul on the 18-yard just off. That's what you want. Pressure gone. Whatever defensive pressure you're under, you've now got a free kick, edge of the box, totally gone. I mean, it's not. It just takes a bit of bravery. Now, why they're not driving very much, why we're not pushing forward, I don't know. But there is a reason. And I mean, a lot of talk about 5 at the back. Well, if that's a 5 in the back performance and how great it is, let's go back to 4, I'd say. I mean, I really don't see what we're gaining by 5 at the back there. No. But
what's particularly disappointing about having that there is we had 2 up front, but we gave the 2 up front absolutely no ammunition. I don't think Silva had his best game, but he's 18. and he's very inexperienced. So he plays well at West Brom, which he did, and then today he plays badly. That's going to happen. That's what happens with very young players.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm not going to slaughter him for it. He's shown in the West
Someone,
Brom
yeah,
game he's good. And
which
he's
is
shown in
why
the game
people behind,
before.
yeah, which
He's
is why
just
people behind
very...
keyboards, which is why people behind keyboards need to be careful, because someone who I'm not going to name on the mix said that, and I quote, "He has the touch of a rapist. Fuck him off."
That's pathetic.
You're doing that. That's bullying. That is systematic and complete bullying towards an 18-year-old. I wouldn't be surprised if he saw such comments that he would want to go, considering the way in which he's just been treated by our fan base. It's embarrassing.
I'll be honest. If he can't deal with it, he shouldn't be in that job.
Very true.
I know it sounds,
but still, it is showing our fan base at its bloody worst. I want to swear, but I'm not going to anybody who's watching.
Look. To be perfectly honest,
ridiculous.
You said it there.
People need
no. It's like any kind of censorship. No, you don't. You let them talk, because it says more about them. And if you're a bit older, you get to the point where you realise when people moan and whinge at you, when you shout at the shop assistant, it's usually not the shop assistant who's done anything wrong, it's because you've had a bad day. You learn in life that in reality, when a lot of this is because things ain't going right in other people's lives. And let's be honest, I mean, what a lot of people, this is the highlight of the week. This is the highlight of the week. So you want it to be great. So on Silver, I agree with Bod there. If you read it, you're an idiot, to be honest. I mean, if you're into you get somebody to do your social media, because it's a cancer in society, to be honest. There's very little positive on social media.
So, but I didn't think his touches and stuff were too bad tonight.
No, look, he's had, the problem is, as Bod said, he's not getting the balls in that he thrives off.
Yeah.
And because of that, he's having to change his game. But that's all part of learning, of making the mistake, coming back. I mean, I don't think he looked for many fouls today.
No, he didn't.
No. So these little things are all part of learning. You'll take a step forward, one back. You'll take a step forward, two back, one forward, two back, three forward. That's how you learn in reality. And yeah, I mean, if we get what's his name? I can't think off the top of my head.
Willian Jose, who scored those two for Real Sociedad yesterday.
Yeah, there's never a messiah. I mean, all you'd expect him to do is take some of the weight off Fabio. But Fabio still needs 10, 15 minutes. I don't know I mean, Catroni, I don't think he's been dealt a bum hand, but I hope he gets game time as well. I don't know how you do it, unless you change your formation. And people, maybe he will go out on loan. I'd rather the club do the best for players they don't want than keep them there unnecessarily.
Then keep them and let them try. Instead of trying to basically force them to play, which obviously doesn't hurt their confidence or their self-esteem or anything. Exactly.
Well, also it's about the next player you buy. So
Indeed.
if you've got a player who isn't happy and you force him down a route he doesn't want to go down, that gets around the game. So the next player comes in, go, well, Wolves, I know if I come to Wolves, they're going to play fair, and if it doesn't work out, they'll move me on with the best way they can. It's like Doherty. He would have got a great signing on fee. He's on an up wage, is what, 28, 29? I don't begrudge him that. Yeah. I mean, he was a carpet fitter before he joined Wolves. And if Nuno thinks, I want to move away from using you, no matter how, he could have scored 10 goals and made 10 assists. If the manager says you ain't going to get game time and you're offered a bigger deal, it gets around the game that they gave him that chance. They gave him the option to get a better deal, and he's made for life. And you've got to, that's part of the management of players. You've got to manage coming ins and you have to manage going outs.
I imagine on top of that, they probably knew that they had the chance to sign Semedo. So,
and I think we missed him tonight.
Yeah. I think the thing is, I'm not going to go over it again because I just thought it was abject. I mean, it really was turgid, and I just think they need to put just G'd themselves up. I mean, as I said, I don't know if you heard just before Cash came on, before you came on, Rich. I was saying, talking to Cash, and I was saying, like, when Neves and Traore and Neto came on, those three came on, and the tempo of the passing was quicker straight away.
Yeah, it zipped up. It was nice.
But they soon got dragged down, but over the general lethargy of the rest of the team.
I mean, and that tells you
that bothers me.
That tells you that maybe there's and I've thought we're compensating for deficiencies at certain places on the pitch, and I don't think it's attack. I mean, I honestly think, and I've said this on the mix, I honestly think Neto is if you profiled a player for Man City, it's Neto, or he's the way. People, you talk about we're missing Jota, but what we're missing is we need players who can move the ball 50, 40, 30, 60 yards at the pitch, because at the moment the midfield doesn't have that ability. One thing I thought has been very positive when he's played is Otasowie seems to be able to do that. But he's 18, 19, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
You can't ask a player that age to carry it. I mean, we're asking Neto at 20 to carry a team, for crying out loud.
Well, I thought. I mean, to be honest, I thought Neves, when he came on, I mean, I said to my wife, I said, is Neves the only midfielder? Because he seems to be the only one doing anything.
Well,
okay, we went to two in midfield, so it was only one other. But it's just, I don't know. It just annoys me that
I'm surprised. And surprisingly, Under actually was that quiet after Ruben came on. I am surprised. Yeah,
very, very surprised.
Well, it
surprised me how it was. Yeah, and for me, a professional performance is keeping hold of the ball and not looking like you're hanging on.
Yeah,
I didn't expect them to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what they need to find.
Going forward, I honestly think. I mean, there's a couple of things which you have to do. We've had Nuno for 3 years. I have seen nothing to say he's not the right manager. Nothing.
No.
But what I do think is we're going through a period where we've got players at that age of 28, 29, 30, 34, where you've got to change them. It may not. You may gradually do that process, but you have to change it.
Yep.
Now, if the strategy is you're going to bring through a really young team, you will have days like we've had. But the worry for me is it isn't at the other end. I don't think it's the other end of the pitch that we're really suffering. If you're conceding 3 goals, you need to score 3 to get a point. If you concede 3 and you want to win, you've got to score 4. Liverpool aren't scoring any at the moment. All this to me says true. Sort out the defence. And if let's go. Yeah, if 3 at the back is the way to go, I'm not a great enough statistician to say so, but I suspect if we go for 3 at the back at the moment, we're actually going to see performances more like tonight, and we're going to concede against Premier League sides. I think I think we have to accept until we really significantly strengthen the defence, we are going to concede, and that means we have to set up to score more. And for me, the real crying out need is sort out the defence. If you can't risk losing the ball in a committed attack, you cannot attack like we'd want us to. You could put Harry Kane on there, but if you're not going to feed the ball to him, he's going to have to drop back to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're seeing.
Indeed.
In hindsight, that not paying that 50 million for Diaz.
Could have.
That looks like I mean, okay, I understand.
An opportunity to slip through the grass, but.
Well, I mean, I can see why you might be a bit little edgy. Someone that young, central defenders of that age, being that much money, when central defenders don't usually blossom until later than a lot of other outfield players. I can understand why you might be a little bit twitchy trying to spend 50 million quid on someone, but someone of that he's obviously got something. Because, and for me, I think what we need is a proper, quick centre half. I think you could pair a good, quick centre half with any of our other centre halves, and we'd be
Who could you see that being, though?
Oh, I ain't got a bloody clue. I have absolutely no idea. But
answers on
I
a
think
postcard, as Craig
someone
Charles
with that
used to
sort of
say.
pace, someone with the sort of pace that they can get back.
Yes.
That means we know. I think, I'll be honest, any of the other defenders could be paired with someone with some pace, and they would all do an admirable job, and we would look. And it is just that, and I think it is just that lack of pace there in the back.
Yeah. It's not an individual criticism, is it? It's a
no,
situational.
It's constructive criticism. It's good criticism.
You could put any of those other defenders, and they'd all do well alongside someone with some pace.
And I think that's why one of the reasons why Mitch Ruddy went absolutely ballistic when it came to, say, some of these chances, and like, where the fuck is the defence and so forth. I excuse the language, but that's what he was basically shouting. And
the reason that's confidence, because what they're doing is they're probably used to Rui, who won't come for a ball. I think Ruddy would have probably wanted more space around his 6 yard.
Yeah, John. Though, actually, by the way, that was his. I think 63 Wolves games he's played. That was his 33rd clean sheet, I think, or something like that. So it's a pretty phenomenal record that he has.
Yeah, I think you have to be realistic, though. That's mostly from our championship years.
It is, yeah, but still, that is something to very much be like. Yeah, he on his day he used a solid, as he showed tonight. And if there was a man of the match to give, I would single-handedly give it to John Ruddy for what for just being able to for doing what he needed to do and go on, just controlling the box, controlling our box, and being like.
I'll tell you what, Cash.
Taking
lovely segue that is.
Yeah, taking no nonsense. He took absolutely no nonsense, made a couple of terrific stops, and just in a sense never really looked under any pressure. I think I'd go second place if there's a second place. I think Hoiver, for the way he was able to run with the ball a fair bit tonight. Jig-Jag being able to put in a few good crosses. Some of them weren't the best on such a boggy pitch. Although the pitch was not too bad at all for a 6th tier side, I have to say. But Hoiver was able to run in, make a few decent crosses, and generally, I think a couple of times the defender sold. A couple of times he did get sold short, but was able then to do better. Basically, get himself back thanks to obviously him coming forward. Obviously, honourable shout out and mention to Vitinha for his strike, because you can't deny. Yeah, of course, it probably would have been saved if it was in a higher league, but still, 35 yards, had the audacity to take it on, absolutely smashed it over the keeper in the net, basically lobbed the keeper from 35 yards. Great hit. And hopefully it'll give him a bit of confidence as well. But John Ruddy, easy standout, solid job. And anyone moans at him should look at performances like this, where he's commanding, he's been like to the defence, sort yourselves out, controlling the box. It's exactly what we need in the goalkeeper.
So, Rich, your man of the match?
I would stick with either Ruddy or Bolly. I'd probably go for Bolly in the sense that I think he kind of needed
I forget Willie?
Performance. I think he needed. I mean, I know it's a bit of a cheat because that's what the PT gave, but I think going back to what I said about defence, I think I know we won't see Ruddy in the Premier League, so Bolly getting, he still made mistakes, but he did the basics well enough. And I'm happy with that. I think for me, a lot of the younger players, you mentioned Hovier there, he might get a few people criticising, but I'm with you. I think, players of his age need games, and these are great games where he's trying to play more in his own self than playing just the rigid, I've been told to do this. He's having to think more. I think those are performances you learn in. So I think everything you said there, Cash, I kind of agree with. So I'm going to go for Bolly simply because if he makes mistakes in that box, we probably concede tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Willie did his job.
My man of the match is the person who got the Wolves AWE flag into shot from across the ground in one of the houses. Because outstanding work.
It was from inside the house. I didn't notice.
Outstanding work that was. Very impressive. Great performance by them, and they should be proud of themselves. Well done, them. Kudos to you.
What was the flag? I didn't fully notice. There was another flag that Wolves took a photo of, which is inside the ground.
There was a shot before the kickoff, and they got it across the ground, and there it was in the background in the row houses at the back. Right at the back,
nice.
Nicely, full window, backlit, on its side, perfect, absolutely perfect.
I'll have to take a look. Sounds an absolute beauty.
It is. So that,
like the game.
Otherwise, John Ruddy for basically being on the ball
boss
and switched on. So
being a boss, switched on, composed, did his job, excellently done by the former Norwich man, who's just a solid second choice keeper on a game like this. Yeah. And I say, it may have been most of them in the Championship, but 33 clean sheets out of 63 games is a pretty impressive record, and he should feel absolutely chuffed with what he did tonight and what he's done in general at Wolves, even if there's been the odd mistake or two. But we're human. But suppose transfer wise, thank God we're getting in another striker. It looks good.
Is he definitely coming in? Because it was. I suppose it's all due down to this.
It's essentially. I think again, all the press and Fabrizio Romano using his famed words of "here we go" earlier on. In terms of it, it's probably more than likely. The Expressens are also stating that should be announced over the weekend. But in terms of him coming over, it's going to take a little longer because of post-transition Brexit. Post-transition paperwork, which I think is going to be obviously a fairly normal part of transfers from now on, but it definitely sounds likely with a 25 million euro option for the summer. But he scored twice last night. Again in the Copa del was it? I think it was the Copa del Rey. Yeah, it was Copa del Rey. Third round, which Real Madrid actually went out to random third. Real Madrid though went down to a random third tier team in Spain, so at least we haven't had those headlines of a sixth tier team beating a top tier. But 29. He's basically just dropped down the pecking order at Sociedad and has seen his playing time very much restricted and limited. And the fact he's out of the squad for tomorrow. I don't know who Sociedad are playing. They're in the race for the Champions League. I think pretty much shows that this one is being done. And I think rumor is that Wolves have been wanting Willian Jose as he is since shortly after Raul's crack in the head. So it's good we're getting him in. And say another forward attacking option, and I think it was his second goal yesterday, but it looked rather nice, rather neat. Edge of the area, just smacks it in, edge of the box, made it look rather nice. So hopefully that will help in terms of trying to get goals into the net. And 29, experienced, has got a few goals in Europe as well. So he's, I think, ultimately something that we need, and hopefully will help us drag away from the potential precipice.
So we think he's the right sort of style of forward that we need.
Well, he's 6'2", I think. 6'2". Obviously, therefore, hopefully good with his head. And as I say, just from seeing one of the goals he scored yesterday, it was edge of the box, power position, straight, knowing exactly where he's going to put it. The more of those folks we have, hopefully that will click. As I say, it is what we need, and obviously another big, tall, goal-scoring striker up front who does need game time. Ultimately,
he'll also be able to contribute.
He's not that tall at 6'2". I'm 6'3".
Get you up front. Get you up front.
Oh God! You see a fat middle-aged man puffing around.
Don't go.
Oh, don't worry. I feel like I put on 3 stone. I've put on at least 2 stones since quarantining and having beer in the last year. 10 members body hasn't held, but there you are.
I've got many inadequacies apparently. So
Oh, I need to check myself out as well. And what was you going to say, Richard?
Do you think? I mean, we're coming into the second half of the season, and I genuinely think we'll, so long as there's nothing behind the scenes which we could all speculate about without evidence, but I genuinely think we'll get stronger. Obviously, you can't be complacent, but
Johnny coming back, Padud's coming back.
Yeah,
as well.
I just can't see us being. I just can't see us being in a real relegation battle. I could be wrong. I'm always optimistic, but
I think Johnny coming back will be outside of role. Johnny coming back will, if he comes back as well as he was playing before, Johnny coming back into the side would be
like a new signing.
Well, it'd be a massive change to our whole. Very good. Yes, I know. Yeah. I think it'd be a massive change to our whole team, the way he plays. He makes a difference. And to be honest, that's some of that pace that covers the back and gets forward to support the attack, which he does. He does do. He might not score many, not like say Doherty did, but he's always in and around the area.
Yeah. And that's pulling defenders away. And the other point about him coming back is, even if he's not absolutely at the level he was, it means that you can rest at Nori, and and if Marcal is not available, it means that you take a bit of the mental kind of fatigue out of Nori. He goes from thinking, "Oh shit, I've got to play and perform," to when will I get my next game? Very different psychological things. I think it was interesting seeing Hoovier tonight, because I did think, with Silva, Semedo, it's a different game. And I really like Hoovier. I think there's so much potential there. But it just shows you, it's about mixing and matching. And I just hope that we can get that mix and match right, just to maximise what we've got. You could buy another 10 players. If they don't play and they've no prospect of playing, there's no point.
Yeah.
You need players who could play. So I feel that the experience that these players have got is setting us up very nicely for next year. I think two, this is we're going to have setbacks in the next few weeks, of course, but I generally think if we can score 3 or 4 2-3 goals occasionally, we will win eventually a game. I just think that's definitely the way to go. And the one thing I think we'd have to do is we have to accept that sometimes you've got to transition away from relying on people on the pitch, and to maybe rely on them on the training pitch and to come on. You can't compromise what you're trying to achieve on the pitch by having a place for somebody who isn't suited or can't do what you're asking, unless you absolutely have to and have no option. So there's got to be a recognition that you earn your place, and your place is there to perform a role for the team, and that to me is the key. I just hope Nuno's got I think he looked a bit more chipper today. He looks concerned about the performance in that sense, but I still think we've got the right manager. I cannot think of anyone who would come in who could possibly, with the likely funds available, change anything.
No, it wouldn't be all that different, would it? No, I tend to agree. As I've always said, I just like another voice in the coaching staff to give a different, just like you were saying before, just to give a spark, or just you know what, I've got an idea. How about we try this? Or just say something different, because I think it might be becoming a bit of an echo chamber. And it just needs something to stir it up a bit, and then that'll send everyone off with new ideas. It could spark a whole new set of ideas from all of them. Even if it's just someone for a short period of time or something like that. I don't know. I think I always think from when I work as a designer. Sometimes you just have a block and you just go down the same route, and then someone will say something. And that'll be it. And that's all you needed, is just one thing said, and it can go off in completely new directions. And
you can't have yes men.
Exactly,
when you're Yeah,
I mean, I don't
we
know
call it
that
the
they are,
janitor
but, you know.
effect. No, we call it the janitor effect. And if you've got immature people who think that you're actually asking for their opinion, it can be dangerous. Because what you're really doing is, I just want to see a different perspective. And what you often find is you hear people say things and you think, oh, I can see why we've not been playing like that. It's because you've completely misunderstood what I'm trying to achieve. And sometimes you've got to take that step back. And I think one thing I think is really positive, we play five at the back and we have a completely lackluster performance as we've seen before. And I think, yeah, play four at the back. To me, that's, you kind of validated here that if you can't be creative with five at the back, we've got to change it. It doesn't matter if we're going to concede, because you against a Premier League team like that, they're going to be on your 18-yard line, camped. So it tells you something. Everything tells you something. And I don't care if it's Chorley. You could play my son's team, and you're just going to get kicked off the park. And they'll be backing out to challenges because they're thinking, oh, I don't want to get my legs broken by this guy who's so late. He would miss the bus, which has gone 5 hours ago. You never know what's affecting you, but it tells you something that, like you said right at the beginning, if you've moved the ball so quickly that you can step back and they slide past you, it ain't a problem. And we're not there. So we have to change. We have to mentally change the attitude of the players and put that zip in. I mean,
as we
people
showed
said,
for about 5 minutes, yeah.
yeah, it used to be a half, didn't we? We used to play for a half, and now it's down for 5, 10, 15 minute periods.
It's down to a very limited period in the game, yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, sorry, go on.
I don't think that there's anything else we need to do other than little changes that we make out to be big changes, but in reality, they're little changes. They're just removing a pressure here, relieving something there. It's like strategic COVID would be good. So you think, I need to take that player out. You've got COVID now. Off you go for
Well,
2 weeks.
Morgan obviously does well. As was stated, Morgan's out the squad because of him having COVID, and obviously best wishes for his recovery and so forth.
I mean, rubbish on there. I mean, he could have got it from his girlfriend, his family. He's come back from Cardiff. He might have gone back to get something from
Swansea. Yeah.
You don't know. You can't. I mean, to say, oh, he must have been breaking rules. How insulting is that to the?
There's no
tens of thousands
proof
of
in this
people who have
particular
died.
case.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Indeed.
But you sometimes that means he's out for the window, doesn't it? Effectively.
I think so, yeah. Interestingly, I think at least I suppose COVID-wise, case numbers have dropped, I think, in the last week as well. I think it's down about 50,000 average a day, now it's about 40,000. So obviously that's good. And that the rate of reproduction of the virus has also dropped. It's back below 1 for the first time in about a month and a half, which is positive. But still, it's such a long way to go. And at least people are getting vaccines in, and ultimately, the sooner that occurs, then obviously fans back in stadiums, whatever else it will be, that will still be a big lift.
There won't be any fans in stadiums this season.
No, and that seems pretty obvious. I think all the games will be on the box.
As hot takes we usually do at the start, but I'm going to do a hot take. I am going to say there will be no fans in any stadiums this year
For the rest of 2021.
I don't think there will be. No.
Okay.
Well, I think you got a point there.
That will probably help.
You got a point.
I think that will probably no doubt shape the Premier League's rights auction, which is due next month. I think it may start in terms of TV coverage for 22 to 25.
Good.
And although because of BT and Sky basically having come. BT and Sky did some sort of deal over the summer, I think, or eventually banged their heads together in terms of getting basically not having disputes in terms of how much they pay each other for using their channels and carrying their channels. Many suspect that the price might be lower. It could come to £700 million.
One of the things they've talked about, and some clubs obviously want it more than others, is the right for clubs to stream games.
Yep.
Which obviously nominally benefits the big six. But from my perspective, I've very little interest in. I mean, I've had to buy BT and Sky. I have Amazon Prime anyway. But if I have to think, do I really want to watch Man U v? Who did they play last? Who did they beat ridiculously, pathetically? I can't remember. I've just no interest in it. It doesn't.
No, not me. Outside of Wolves, I've very little interest in other teams.
And I kind of feel like it's getting to the point where when the grassroots football was on, I'd go and watch my daughter and my son play, socially distanced, walking around away from everybody, and it made me realise that it's being there. You see the whole pitch, you see the movement off the ball.
God, yeah.
I've no great interest in watching. If you said to me, no fans in the stadium until 2021, then there comes a point where I think, I'm out in the garden then. There comes a point where...
I mean, the game is nowhere near the same on TV. It is
I think that's part of the results we're seeing.
Yeah.
And if it is, because you've got to remember, and I'll stick by this. If you take a team like Sheffield, who are bottom,
Sheffield United,
and you take the level of, if you've ever played football with somebody who almost made it a professional level, I think I mentioned this last week, it's a different league to what you can do. The margins are fine. They're fine at that level. So if you take fans out and motivation and that 1%, you're going to get results like you see. There'll be a player who doesn't turn it, who maybe is a bit nervous when the fans are getting at him or doesn't like this atmosphere. So you'll get these anomalous results. I kind of think they have to get fans in next season. The impact of not doing that
would be catastrophic.
Yeah, I mean it's pubs, it's restaurants, it's public
transport
systems.
I agree with you. I think they should be able to. I think personally think it would be possible.
It's more than possible. If the vaccine remotely works, remotely works, it's
it's probable, providing obviously as many people get vaccinated.
It doesn't matter if you've vaccinated the vulnerable and the elderly, and what they're saying is true. It's not negotiable. If you're saying we can't have any COVID deaths, then that's immoral. That's police state stuff. It's just not acceptable. No. The argument, if the NHS isn't overwhelmed,
that's it. It won't happen because to be honest, at a certain point, people will stop doing it.
Yeah,
they will just stop.
Yeah. And then you've got the issue, and this is the other thing, that you can't. If the vaccine works and you can protect the people who need protecting, it's irrelevant if you've had the vaccine and I haven't, or I've had the vaccine and you haven't. As long as the person who needs protecting it's irrelevant to who's had the vaccine, so long as the people who need protecting are safe. That's all that matters.
And with over 5.5, I think it's 5.5 million now with over 5 million plus have now been vaccinated. So obviously that number is going to go up and up and up. And fingers crossed, if the targets do get hit, then, and it's suggested if every adult will have had at least one dose by September, then fingers crossed, it'll be fantastic.
I would love it if it was the case. I just think
I know where Bod's coming from.
I think it will be one of the last things to be allowed. Again, I'm not saying that there's nothing else. I think football will be right down the bottom. Well, I say football will be right down the bottom. I say football fans wanting to go to games would be right down the bottom of that list.
Yeah,
certainly if it is this year, it will be around Christmas time that it will be happening.
Oh yeah, I think Q3, Q4.
But again, I think because it's going into the winter, it might be held back.
Well,
just because of fear.
Well, of course.
I think that's the key point, Bod. It's going to be held back by fear, and because you only have to look at the stats that the NHS doesn't have the capacity in a normal year. So.
Indeed.
Yes. Anyway, none of that real. I mean, I think from a Wolves perspective, it's that's obviously a smaller fish to fry. a lot of people have been criticising Fosun and saying get your money in your pockets. What do we feel about that? I mean, I think I can't criticise an organisation who have stated that they're an investment company. That they have no inherent love for Wolves. It was a cold-hearted commercial decision. They've certainly put their money where their mouth is. There are, we got. Did we get a small fine and a kind of sanction on
It
the
was
side of the
20.
squad?
It was how much was the
It
fine? I'm
wasn't
trying to
big.
remember. I think it was €250,000 or something naff like
Yeah.
that because
So
of
so we know we're on
because of the accounts.
FFP kind of radar. I suspect they've probably played it much better than people probably give them credit for.
And Fosun's bank balance is ginormous. If anyone thinks that Fosun doesn't have money, then for goodness sake.
Yeah, but they can't just put it into a club. They
They
can't.
relaunched. I know they relaunched
not
Thomas
allowed to,
Cook for goodness sake. They revived Thomas Cook within a year, less than a year after they went bust, back in September.
I mean,
so
from what I understood when they took over, basically people who go, oh, they're just going to go in and then they're going to, it's a buying and selling thing. It's not a buying and selling thing.
no,
Not many people go into buying a football club to make money. Maybe some of the American investors do because they want to close, which is why they're constantly pushing for a closed shop. But they don't. What Wolves
with
is
the European Super League
Fosun,
and whatever else,
is
yeah.
a fantastic marketing platform. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
It's
Links
marketing.
Yeah, and
Because you've got,
we're being
you get a team. You get a team. At the time when we were available, we were cheap. A decent enough sized team with a good history, a good name, a good, very, very good brand.
30 million quid
Then
pocket
30
change.
million quid. You could put some money in, get them promoted, and then you've got a market with how many billion around the world, and you've got your brand. Any brand that you want to push, you can push up front and centre very, very easily, and you control the narrative of how that
through money from China. Through money from China, and then through buying players from basically all across. Yes, many from Portugal, but still from South America, a few others from Africa, and all sorts of other places. Then therefore the brand, the way in which Wolves' brand has been expanded in the last 4.5 years, as it is 4.5 years. Yesterday, actually, Fosun brought Wolves. It's been terrific. It's been terrific.
What you got to think though is for Fosun, it being a marketing tool. If anyone thinks Fosun are just going to let us,
plummet down the leagues,
they're not going to let that happen for the simple reason it is not within their interest. If
exactly.
it's a marketing tool, we need to be talked about, we need to be seen, we need to be successful. If not successful because we can't compete with the top clubs because they're just so much bigger at the moment, we at least need to be that fashionable club who
and make that step up.
And looks good.
Yeah.
The Dortmund type, the Dortmund effect, or the Red Bull sound. They're all
maybe
the
say the Leicester City effect,
and all
or
love
like
to
the
jump
Leicester,
in and go.
the Leicester City effect, considering Leicester again in the title race for the second time in the last 5 seasons. Of course, the last time they went on to win it by 10 points. So the unpredictability of football. If you're able to crack it, you can crack it. And if Leicester's landed the second title in 5 years, phenomenal.
I'll be honest. I genuinely don't think that that's ever been the belief. I just think that as long as they're up the top end of the table and fashionable with all the sort of hipster football people who are, the
and Americans who like
not the ones who generally, they're not the ones who generally go to games, but they're the ones who like to talk about it a lot on social media and. They use words like registas and blah 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 blah, and all these different names for different players. That kind of market. If they're talking about Wolves, we're then cool, and then that.
Indeed,
we don't have to be
because
top. That's it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because if you've got 1 billion people, and let's say 10 million or 100 million of them support the top 6, and you can get 1% of them to change their allegiance, plus pick up a few people who weren't interested in Wolves in football because of the imagery, the alignment with Chinese values, which they're a very ancient culture. There's you discount China absolutely at your peril. There
yeah.
is the potential. What they're doing across the world is astounding. I mean, absolutely astounding. And they will not. China. The Chinese government has said you can't just urinate money against the wall on football. There's got to be some payback. But they also absolutely hate losing face. They will not, like you said, they're not going to accept. And Wolves probably are along. Is it Inter Milan they own, or they own one of the Italian teams? Is it Juventus? I can't remember, but they own one of the big Italian teams, and they're not going to let. No, Chinese own.
Oh yeah, it is. It's another Chinese firm who owns Inter, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not going to. There's going to be a point where they say, look, we have to invest a bit. And in fairness, if we get this guy with only an obligation, with only an option to buy, even if it's 22 million, then there's no loan fee. Well, that in reality, if there's no loan fee, that makes that deal a 17 million, 16 million deal in reality. And that shows great business acumen. The idea is they know Sociedad is leaving at the end of the season. They know they're not going to play him. But if he does well at Wolves, they get 22 million. That's a win for them. If he does well at Wolves and we pay 22 million for him, as you said, Cash, that's a win for us.
It could work out, yeah.
And if he gets a contract at 29 with a decent wedge, that's a win for him too. And that's how business goes.
Yeah.
That's how business goes. Like with Doty, yeah, we miss his goals, we miss his assists, but it's a win for him. It's a win for Wolves. And yeah, that's how you do business. You look for deals where everyone's broadly happy. What you don't want to see situations is where somebody says, I want to move, like the Pogba one. On his day, probably one of the best players in the world, but all you hear is he's not happy. And you think, well, that's not the way you want to do business, is it?
And then he did all of his talking on the pitch against Fulham with that
absolutely. And I think Fosun are probably a bit cleverer than a lot of us give them credit for. And it's like buying silver. Somebody made the point you probably couldn't buy silver now with the Brexit rules. So they had to move for him, and maybe Vitinha as well. When they did, they had to make those, and Nori, they had to make those decisions if they wanted these players, because their model is to buy in young, develop, and even if they don't make it at Wolves, you'll still get a few million for them, and that pays for their development costs. So they've made the big plays. I honestly think we'll reap the benefits next season or the season after. I really do. It's just managing change, and managing change is what makes you truly great. You can have your Brian Cloughs, your Herbert Chapmans. I mean, Huddersfield 3 league titles. Herbert Chapman moves to Arsenal. They become a great club. Yep. It's about managing change, and it's not about panicking and going, "Oh, we're not playing well. Sack Nuno." God's sake, only the club can make that decision, and it's walking around.
Or Nuno could make that decision himself. Yeah,
I don't think he will though. No, I don't think he will.
I don't think he's. I mean, I don't know him personally, but the way he comes across, I genuinely could not see him leave. And if he was to leave, he would leave at the end of the season and early on to give everyone, and he would make it clear from plenty of time. I think he just strikes me as that sort of person.
Indeed.
I could be wrong. But that's how I see it.
Chelsea on Wednesday.
Manager under pressure, going to get
this
the
should
sack.
Be interesting.
Maybe at the end of the season.
Chelsea, as was the case in 15, lost to Leicester, and their manager. Well, after it was Mourinho. Mourinho was dismissed. I think the day after. Actually, they lost that one. Obviously, Lampard hasn't gone, but clearly there is huge pressure on him. It's obviously a match of two managers who are having an extremely tough time of it at the minute. Obviously, the way in which we did them over in the last minute was still brilliant back in December. That was our last league win, goodness me. But we need to put that wrong right. But then we have, and that against Chelsea, Palace, and Arsenal, our next three opponents, we have scored 6 goals. which is 30% of our league goals all season. And yeah, both teams under pressure. It could be a drab draw, or it could be one in which both teams know they've got to step up. I generally don't know, but I think with Chelsea having so much more expectation on them, I think we could maybe hopefully exploit that. And I will therefore say, even on the back of this evening, I will go with another 2-1 Wolves, and we may nick it in the 90th minute again. Of which, if we did, I'm sure everybody will be delighted. And who knows who will score? Maybe there'll be another screamer of some kind, as was the case tonight. But any sort of win in the league will hopefully just make everybody be like, finally, and hopefully relieve some of that stress and pressure that's no doubt on collectively the squad's shoulders. And I think it could come against a Lampard who spent however many million in the summer, 300 million, I think it was, on all those players, and they're like 8th in the table. They think we're in a bad situation. Then, my God, just
we
go
are in a
down
worse
to Fulham.
situation then. No, yeah, exactly. Again, you got to look at the pressure on Lampard. Realistically, is coming from the owner, because he's bought a fair few younger players who maybe need a season to embed.
Oh.
I mean, shocking if they get rid of Lampard. I think that's shocking. I mean, just give the guy a chance to build a team. So, in terms of us, I think it is two managers under pressure. But for me, I would take a draw absolutely every day of the week. Again, I would look for performances first, and that's what we need more than even if we lose and we've got a good performance. To me, I'm happy in the state we are, because performances are where wins come from. People said about Liverpool that they were not performing well and they were getting a few results, and then suddenly the results stop. So we've definitely got a chance to beat them. I'd take a 2-1. I'd take a 1-0, to be honest, to us. Anything. But I do want to see a more assured, more zip pod, as you say, a bit more confidence on the ball. That's all. I'll take any result that gives us that, but that performance. That's all I want.
I mean, but for me, a back to basics performance. Ball being passed out around with some zip. Don't try and overplay it when we get in front of the area. Don't try and score the perfect goal. Just keep everything straightforward, knock it about. And remember that. I mean, I'm going to predict a 2-2 draw. That's where
Good old Desmond.
Yeah.
2-2 draw. Yeah, I'd take that as well. I think we can win, but I think a draw would be more realistic.
I think it will end at that, but it could well be a 2-2 draw with a vastly improved performance. Would be much more, probably a really shit performance with a lucky goal would be awful, because I don't think that
doesn't solve anything
in the long run. 2-2 and a good performance, you can see, and you can start to it'll bring confidence and stuff like that. We felt better, we're good, and that sort of stuff.
I think that's right. I'd agree with that. So you're almost saying compromise points in that game for points against Palace, points potentially against Arsenal, potentially against Arsenal in the Cup. I think that's got to be the way to go. It's going to be an interesting game, seeing their how much did they pay for Werner
and Ziyech and whatever? Too much money. I'm too tired to be bothered in terms of how much Frank Lampard splashed out on those guys.
Yeah,
they spent a huge amount. Abramovich again spraying his wallet, and on the pitch is not coming off. There's people moaning, "Oh, we spent 85 million. We also got 85 million back." Look how much Chelsea spent in the summer. I think it was towards pretty much almost 300 million. I think altogether. It was crazy. I say, but look where they are. Look where Chelsea are in the Premier League.
Well, isn't that a lesson though? You can't throw money willy-nilly. You've got to, when you either buy for the future, which I think in fairness to Chelsea they have, or you you buy tactically to fill gaps in your squad, which I think we have potentially in this window. So, yeah, this is why we love football. We don't know how it's going to go, and I don't think you gain anything by letting it go. You know, if we were in the stadium, you'd like to think we'd still support the team, and I think we would, because of the structure that we're at, because most of the people who are there in the stadium. And I was only got my season ticket when we got to the Prem. We debated getting them in the year we went up. We were like 5-6 game people before that. You know, absolute plastics, obviously. Fully accept that.
It's shocking. Not like us super fans who were there in League One and all that.
Was there when we lost to Walsall 1-0 in League One thanks to Andy Butler? No, joys.
I did see a few games.
16th that's it, you know, and I'm sure we were, despite only being 12, I was one of the 50 billion people who went to the first Chorley game. But no.
My kids weren't born, but they were at Chorley the first time.
I wasn't even sperm, but I was at Chorley in '86.
I'd like to think if we were in the ground, we would support the team.
Yeah.
That to me is the kind
of. I can see the way in which. I can see the way in which the mix has gone tonight. Yes.
One of my big bugbears of when there's a lot of criticism of the forum and people on it. Is that a lot of the people who are on the forum watching, you know, who go to the games, they might complain on the forum. Of course they might. They don't do that at the ground. The thing is, all the forum is like going to the pub afterwards and chatting with your mates in the pub. People in the pub afterwards will complain about players. They'll bitch about players. Of course they will. That's what you do. But then they go to the next game and you support the team.
Yeah,
that's what we all do. That's what we've always done. You know, we're not.
And that'll always be the case whenever we go back through Molyneux's doors.
We're not all inadequate people. That's all I can say. You know.
And a few keyboard warriors, I will have to say, in terms of, various things this week, we'll have to think that in that case. Then they've been on the end of a lot.
You said earlier, Rich, for some people, the game is the highlight of the week for them. I mean, it does sound a little bit like that's the highlight of their week.
No, it's a highlight of my week, I can tell you.
But yeah, I know, that's it. You know, many of us look forward to that game. So, yes, it does affect us. I'll fully admit, I'm going to be in a right stinking mood for the next game. And I've got to then deal with people on a forum. I got that on top of it. But yes, I'll go in a stinking mood if there was a stinking game. It just happens. That's just what happens sometimes when you're watching follow a football team.
Yeah, it's natural life. It's nature. Anyway, I think that'd be a good way to end.
Yeah, I was just saying. There we go. That's a lovely ending because it's getting quite late.
It's 8 minutes past 11, and I think there could be many other things to speak about. I'm knackered. I don't know where Molyneux Mix has been this week.
So
I need sleep.
Oh, I know.
I'm guessing Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay.
Wednesday.
Oh, God, it's an early game, isn't it? It's a very, very early game.
5:30 kickoff on Wednesday, which happens to clash with a young combined authority meeting, which starts at 6. So I can watch the first half an hour and then after try and suss them out.
I'll be hopefully working from home that day because I'm in and out.
And I am working from home, still under everybody's orders in terms of Birmingham 22. But there we are. But all right.
So, if you are still watching after this mammoth chat, if you want to join us on Wednesday, you're very welcome. The link will be posted on the forum again. And of course, just as an aside, anyone who is watching this and thinks, "Oh, I don't know how to use Zoom," you don't have to use Zoom. You can actually call in with just a normal phone. There's a list of numbers that will get you on, and we can add you in. So hopefully, we'll speak to you all on Wednesday evening.
Indeed. Adios. See you Wednesday.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good weekend.